So we're going to be downloading some files, and we've already created our folders. So basically we just right-click the link, and since I'm in Chrome, it's telling me to save link as. You may see a little different prompt, save as, save target as, just depends on what browser you're in. And I want to put this in my lesson 5 folder. Oh, but not there. I need to be down here. Nope, not on that one either. I think it's this one. Nope. Here we go. Into this lesson 5 folder. Okay, so we got one downloaded. The JPEGs here, which are images, they all need to go into the media folder, okay, which is inside lesson 5. So we're going to save those as well. We're going to put them all into the media folder. And just in case you're wondering, the recipe is a real recipe, okay, so it's not fake. And then we have a file with a little bit of the CSS in it, not a lot. This would be external style sheet. We're going to put that into the CSS folder. So I've got to go back up to lesson 5 and open up that folder. So at this point I have the images and I've got the files downloaded. And my next step is going to be to open them. So I'm going to open up the lemon cream cheese crumb cake. So let me go back over to lesson 5 here. I want to open this with VS Code. Now, it may be helpful for you to view this right now offline so you can see what this looks like before we actually start making changes to it. So let's right-click, open with. You want to just open it in any of the web browsers. I'll pull this over here. So this is currently what it looks like. And if we click, you can see this is actually a recipe. Okay, and this is a little link that takes you to a bigger picture. All right, so what we're going to be doing is we are going to convert everything inside the cake layer, all the ingredients, into a bulleted list, and we're going to be doing the same thing with the cream cheese layer and what's in the crumb topping section. And let's see, let's go back into VS Code. So basically we're going to be taking the paragraph tag and we're going to be changing it to an opening LI and a closing LI. And right above that, let's do our opening UL. UL stands for unordered list. And then below, I'm going to go ahead and put the closing one in here, just so I don't forget. And now I need to convert the P's to LI for line. And then I'm going to highlight that. Control C to copy. And now I can just kind of come in here and paste. And I'm pressing Control and V as in Victor. And not only do I need to replace the opening P's, I need to come over here and replace the closing ones. And this is how I'm going to get those bullets at the front of every single line. Yep, and if you get too much, you might have to put that closing bracket in again. Be very careful so that we don't zap anything that we actually want to keep here. Okay, so at this point, I think I've got all of that. So I'm going to save this, and I'm going to reload the page here. And all we've done is change the cake layer ingredients, and now we have a nice bulleted list. So we're going to basically be doing the same thing for the cream cheese and the crumb topping. So let's go back over into VS Code here. And we're going to come down to our cream cheese. And let's add the UL and the closing. And we'll do that same thing down here for the crumb topping. Let's put in our closing. And you may think, oh my goodness, isn't there an easier way than copying and pasting to change these? There is, but you do need to be a little bit careful because we only want to change the P tags in this little section and in this little section. Okay? But there is a replace command that we can use. So if we go to Edit and Replace, we want it to find P, and we want it to replace with LI. Now we don't want all of the P's replaced. And that's where we have to kind of look at these two buttons, because there's replace and then there's replace all. We do not want to do replace all. So what we're going to do is hit replace, and then it's highlighting the next occurrence. So you have to kind of look in your page, and we will keep hitting replace just through our two lists. Now when we get down here to instructions, we don't want to replace that one. Okay, so we're done. And we're going to come back up here, and now we're going to have it look for the closing P. And we're going to replace that with the closing LI. And again, we want to start up here. So I'm going to move the insertion mark, somewhere before that first closing P. Right now I've got it right by my UL tag. And then I'm going to hit replace. And I'm going to keep hitting replace here and kind of watch. And this is going to be my last one. Okay, and now I'm done. That was a little easier than manually doing the copying and pasting. So let's save this. And we'll take another look. I do like to look at it as I go, because I just think then if there is an error, it's easier to find and fix when you check it along the way. And that looks perfect. And that's exactly how we want it to look. Now our next little change is going to be to the instructions. And what we want is a nested list. Now I'm going to pull an example over here so you guys can see what this looks like. So we're going to have numbers, but then like under number 3, we have a separate list. So it's kind of like a list within a list. So this is a nested list. We have the same thing going on with 4 and with 5. So we kind of have an outer list and an inner list. So you can see the code for that we're going to be modifying. So we have an opening OL and a closing OL. Okay, so that's our outer list. And then we've got the lines, and these are represented by the numbers. And then when we get to make a cake, which is number 3, you'll notice that we have another list. Here's the opening and the closing. Okay, it's kind of all self-contained. And we've adjusted our list style type to lowercase alpha. That is why we're getting letters. Okay, so I'm going to move this out of our way. And we're going to go back into VS Code. I'm going to come down here to the instructions. And let's go ahead and put in our opening ordered list. We'll put in our closing one at the bottom. Because the problem that I've noticed that people have with a nested list is they end up forgetting the closing tags. And then the web browser gets super confused and it doesn't display it correctly. Okay, so it's just a good habit to get those closing tags in right away. And for the first 3 lines, now you can use the replace command on this. Actually, it wouldn't really hurt because all of these P's and closing P's are going to get changed, regardless of if they're in the inner list or the nested list or the outer list. So I'm going to keep this. We'll change the closing first. And so I'm going to click on replace here. I'll just kind of zip through and change all of these. All right, not the one down here. So we're done. Now I'm going to go back in here and change it to my opening. And we'll change this one to an opening too. And we'll click right up here after the opening OL. And we'll start replacing those. Pretty awesome commands, find and replace. So at this point, we have the lines defined, but we do not have the nested list. So we've got 1, 2, and 3. And when we get down to 3, this is where we want our nested list. So I'm going to press tab. I'm going to insert another OL. And now I'm going to say style equals, double quote, list style type, colon, lower alpha. And between the words I am entering dashes because that is the proper way to spell them in CSS. Okay, and then I'm going to put in my closing. And I'm going to indent the next couple of lines here because they are part of this inner list. And then visually you'll be able to see that if we indent them a little. Okay, now it's after spread the cake layer in the prepared pan, right after that, that we're going to put in the closing OL. Okay, and that is for this inner list. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3. Then we've got this little inner list with A, B, C, D. And then we continue on with number 4. And after number 4, we have another nested list. So let me save this and we'll take a look so you can see what it looks like so far. Let me reload this. So we've got 1, 2, 3. We've got A, B, C, D. And then we've got number 4. And the 3 lines that are below that, these all need to be in that inner list. We want them labeled A, B, C. We want it indented. So we're going to go back into VS Code. And I'm going to add an OL. And actually, I can just copy this one. So I'm pressing Control C. Copy that right in there because that has the style that we want as well. And then let me indent these lines. And I'm just pressing tab to indent them. And then I'm going to put in my closing OL. And I'm funny about my indentation. I like them to line up. Okay, so we've got this created now. Let's take a look. And you can see that 4, 5, and 6 are now part of an inner list. Now 5 is fine to leave alone, but the next couple instructions for 6 and 7, these need to be in an inner list as well, because they're basically referring to how to make our crumb topping. Okay? And then numbers 8 and 9 are fine. We can just leave those alone. So we're going to go back over to VS Code. And so we said to make a crumb topping is fine. It's actually the line below that that we want to change. So we're going to copy this tag for the nested list. Then I'm going to press tab and kind of manually indent these lines. Okay, just 2 of them. And then we're going to put in our closing ordered list here. And now I have my last inner list. Let me save. And then let's load that up. Okay, so now I have my nested list. Now, recipe notes is good. We're leaving that alone. That brings us down to descriptions. The descriptions we are going to change to a description list. And basically, the term that you're defining displays to the left, and then the definition is kind of indented to the right. Okay, and I will show you the code we're going to use for that. So DL is a description list. And then we've got our term, description term. And then we have our description definition. Description term, we got the term, we got the definition. The term, the definition. That's kind of how it works. And then you have a closing description list at the bottom. And you'll notice that the terms have opening and closing, and so do the definitions. Okay, so that's basically what we are going to be doing. And so we're going back over to our VS Code, and we will scroll down. And let's go ahead. I'm going to close out of the replace. And I'm going to do our definition list, the opening, and I'm going to go down to the bottom here and do the closing. Then, for each term, we're going to change P to DT. I'm going to highlight and copy. So that is a term. Lemon zest is a term. Buttermilk is also a term. And so is sour milk. Whoops, highlighted a little too much. All right, so I've got my terms defined. Now I've got to do my descriptions. So I'm going to replace the P with a DD. So I got my opening, closing, opening, closing, just a couple more. All right, and I'm going to do a little indenting here. just to kind of offset the term from the definition. All right, let me save this. And then let's go ahead and reload it. Okay, so you can kind of see what that looks like. And at this point, everything looks pretty good. So you want to make sure you save your changes.